Hey guys, how you doing? Now, last Christmas, after putting it off for so long, I finally became the proud owner of an Xbox Series X. Yep, I finally jumped into the latest generation after waiting out all of the shortages from last year. It's all set up, which means it's replacing my One X, which is now in the gaming room. Now, as many Series X owners will attest, there are loads of things to love about this console. Games on it load super quick with that built-in SSD, and the quick resume feature makes them load even faster. Even disc games. Ray tracing looks awesome in games that support it, and it continues to support all of the games that the Xbox One did, and it was super quick bringing my current library across. Just plug in my external hard drive and away I went. But you know what? No one console is perfect, and well, if we just sit here and talk about all the things we like about them, well, that just isn't fun, is it? So hello fellow gamers, and here are 5 things that disappointed me about the Xbox Series X. Number 1. Lack of exclusives. We're easily over a year into the Xbox Series lifetime now, and with any other console in the past, we would have seen several exclusives available for their platform. But with the Xbox Series X and S, there are slim pickings. Of course, we are talking about Xbox here, so just for a moment, we are going to have to glaze over the fact that all of their exclusives are also available on PC. Now that's fine, that's the direction that Microsoft is going, that's entirely their decision. But the question I'm asking is, which of their titles so far are console exclusives? And by that I mean games that can be played on the Series X and S, but can't be played on an Xbox One, nor on any other console. Now there may be 1 or 2 from indie developers that I may have overlooked, but I honestly struggle to find any more than just 1 title right now. Microsoft Flight Simulator. And you know what, you're probably just going to want to play that on a PC anyway. So really, outside of a few titles that have been optimised for the X and S, there doesn't seem to be a great deal of incentive to upgrade at this point. Now I know there are exclusives being developed that are coming out on the horizon, but come on guys, it's been over a year. Hurry it up, will you? Number 2. The controller is pretty much the same. With each iteration of the Xbox, there has been noticeable differences with the controller, albeit the changes do become a little less pronounced with each release, as Microsoft fine-tune their vision for the best Xbox controller. You know, short of you getting an Elite. The controller that comes with the Series X though, I mean, at a glance, besides 1 or 2 visible tweaks, you'd struggle to tell the difference between this and its younger Xbox One brother. It has, again, been fine-tuned to be a bit better than the Xbox One's though, with a tactile pattern on the handles, a grid-shaped D-pad, reshaped triggers, also featuring that tactile pattern, and a share button. It also uses USB Type-C too. Now don't get me wrong, it is definitely an improvement on the previous model, but to me this doesn't feel like a controller upgrade for the next generation. This is more like a same-gen improvement over the previous model. It has even been done once already with the Xbox One itself, where a new controller came out with the One S, boasting Bluetooth connectivity, a built-in headphone jack, and a slight cosmetic upgrade. Its improvements really don't hold a candle to those featured in the PS5 controller, such as those adaptive triggers, which is a huge jump from the previous model. I suspect that Microsoft haven't changed much because they want everyone to buy into their Elite controllers. Number 3. Expensive expandable storage. The Xbox series of consoles, like its predecessor, supports external USB hard drives. You can just plug one in to expand your system's storage, and you can start saving your games on there. That is with a caveat though. You can only run Xbox games from previous generations off that drive, namely those for the Xbox One, 360 and the OG Xbox. Now that's fair enough. The USB they've implemented doesn't have the transfer speed needed for Xbox Series games, so what other options do we have? Well, there's only one, and that's Seagate's expansion card. And that's a problem, because these things are proprietary. Nothing else uses them. It's just for the Xbox Series S and X, and that makes them expensive. A 1TB one, for example, costs around 200 quid. That is ridiculous. In comparison, a same capacity external SSD can currently be bought for half that price, and external magnetic drives are half that price again. Now you can argue that those are still limited by the USB connection, and the Series X and S games need that extra bandwidth in order to work. And of course you would be right. However, at this point, even over a year after the series release, there are still plenty of Series X and S optimized games that don't require you actually to install them on the internal drive. Of course, there are some optimized games that definitely need to be installed internally, but not all of them do. Now, if you want to find out for yourself which ones you can save onto an external USB drive, it's easy enough to find out whether you can move them across or not. But if you find that a decent number of your optimized games can be moved to an external USB drive, you can save yourself a few quid by using an external USB drive instead. Hopefully this won't be forever. Once it's possible for third parties to be able to make the expansion card, we might start seeing the prices drop. Already there are adapters for specific small M.2 drives which, well, coupled with the cost of the M2 drive itself, together becomes, well, maybe slightly less costly than Seagate's offerings. Still though, that's something that could be worth looking into. But for now, official expansions for SNX specific games, disappointingly expensive. Number 4. No remote play between Xbox Series and Xbox One. Microsoft have been raving on about its many remote play features. Now you can stream your own Xbox to your PC, your laptop, mobile phone or tablet. Pair them up with a suitable controller and you're good to go, right? Well, unless you're using a MacBook, of course. Now most of this is very good news. However, Microsoft have missed out one very important platform. Their own Xbox. At the time of me telling you this, it is not possible to remote play an Xbox Series console on an Xbox One. Now it is possible to do something similar to this using Xbox Cloud Gaming, where you can play even Series S and X games on your Xbox One from Microsoft's own cloud servers. But you'll need to have Game Pass Ultimate in order to do that, and that, not exactly cheap. But you know what you can do with the PS4? That's right, remote play a PS5 right onto it. And to top it off, it doesn't cost anything extra. You don't even need PlayStation Plus for it. And then there's the Switch. Remote play is basically its core feature because the whole system is remote. You can take it with you and play it anywhere. No extra hardware, no online subscriptions required. Now I found this lack of remote play disappointing because I keep the newer consoles connected to the 4K TV in another room rather than in my gaming room. Now I've got a fast enough network set up so I could easily remote play without any hiccups in any other room. So it would have been nice to be able to play my Series X remotely with my older One X, which can more than handle it. Number 5. Overall it just doesn't seem that much of a step up. On paper, the Series X is definitely a big step up from the previous model, the Xbox One X. It's got 50% more RAM, twice as many teraflops, has SSD internal storage, and it supports ray tracing. That all sounds great, but when trying out the ray tracing, I found myself back to the same restrictions that we had in the previous generation. If you've played the Xbox One for long enough, you'll have noticed many of its games have different graphics options. A lot of different names are used for them, but usually it boils down to either prioritizing the frame rate or the resolution. You can have a full 4K experience if you have the TV to support it, but many games are going to leave you with a 30 FPS frame rate. On the flip side, you can opt for blazing 60 FPS, but you have to settle for a 1080p resolution, which, if you've got a 4K TV, kind of defeats the point a bit. Now we all know that a lot of the previous series of games run better on the new Xbox, so you don't need to make those kind of compromises anymore, but when you throw ray tracing into the mix, you're back to square one again. In short, if you want to have ray tracing on, prepare to lose something else. Now this was something that I wasn't expecting, and well, I may well be at fault here as I don't have a graphics card in my PC that supports ray tracing, so I have no previous experience with it. This is the first piece of hardware I've owned that supports it, and I guess my expectations were set a little too high. I mean, I play my Series X on a 4K TV, and since it supports 4K itself, I bloody well want to use it. But at the same time, I want to take advantage of as much as what's possible with the Series X, ray tracing included. Unfortunately, right now, I have to compromise. Again. Not to mention that the menu system, all of the settings, and as I mentioned earlier, even the controller, are pretty much the same as those found with the Xbox One X. This really doesn't feel like that much of an upgrade. To be honest, this feels less like an Xbox Series X and more like an Xbox One X Plus. I know, I'm probably spoilt because I had the latest model from the last generation anyway, so the jump was a little bit smaller. Certainly, if you're upgrading from an original model of Xbox One, you'll definitely be happy. For me though, I know the specs are much better on paper, but the experience is, well, only a little bit more, and that was rather disappointing. So there you go, those were a few things where I thought the Xbox Series X had fallen a bit short. Now watch everyone start calling me a Sony fanboy just because I was a bit critical. But these aren't definitive, any of them could be resolved soon. Do you have any gripes with the Xbox Series X? Let everyone know in the comments, and while you're down there, please leave a like if you like the video, and there's always that subscribe button if you want to hear more from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.